In our previous class, we have discussed that there are two types of attributes are there in a class. One is called the data attribute, another is called the class attribute. Data attributes is like your data members that you say in C++, and this class attributes are nothing but it's like a static variable, right? Yeah, and we have read that class variables are shared by all the objects of the same class. And we have discussed that the class variables are declared just after the class declaration. It is not inside the init function. Inside the init function, any variable that you declare, those are data members or data attributes. Like for example, in this case, full name is a data attribute. So if I declare some variable over here, that will become class attribute. The example is over here. You can see this x is equal to 23 that we have declared. It's inside the class, but not inside the init function. So x becomes a class variable, right? And one more thing I have also told you that to access the class variable, you have to use what? Underscore class underscore dot the class variable name. For example, if I want to increment x, then I'll write self dot underscore class underscore dot x plus 1 plus equals to 1. So that means x is equal to x plus 1. Right? So this is not in the scope of an object, rather it is in the scope of the class. So if any of the object calls the increment function, the variable of x will be incremented and that will reflect to all the objects of the same class. For example, if I have an object A is incremented, I print it, it will print 24. If B is another object and it will, if I print the class of A, if I write B dot class dot x, then also it will print 24. Whether any one of these objects changes the value of x, that will be reflected to all the objects of the same class. So this is the class attribute. You can see over here, overall total is the class attribute, whereas my total is a what? Data member or data attribute. So if you change by calling this increment function, increment is incrementing the overall total. Counter dot overall total is equal to counter dot overall total plus 1. So increment function is incrementing the overall total. So if I create two objects A and B, I call the increment function for 3 times. And if you print the overall total by using any of the object, right? See over here, I have used A dot my total is giving 1, but overall total is giving 3. My total is giving 2, but overall total is giving 3. So overall total for any of the object is giving 7. You can see over here, when I print the overall total, it prints 3. When I print the overall total through B, it is also printing 3. But my total is different over here. My total is different for different objects. So data member is different for different objects, whereas the class member is common. Suppose this is the class bank account. Sorry, this should not be there. Only class bank account. I have an init function and account holder equals to name and balance equals to opening balance. I create an object account 123 by calling the bank account is the class name by passing 2 parameters over here. So I said there are 2 types of variable: instance variable, which are called the non-static, and second one is the class variables. So instance variable or non-static or data attributes, right? So these object variable are the one that are created for each object separately, And for class variable, one copy is created for class and available to all class members. One copy is created for class and available to all class members. If I want to see that what are the variables or non-static variables are there, I can use this command vars object name. Vars in the bracket object name gives returns the instance attributes in an object in form of a dictionary. Right? So if I give vars in the bracket, I will give a object name that will return what are the instance variable or data attributes present in that object. Look into this example. Can you say that which are class attributes and which are what data attributes over here? I have a class student with somewhere which are
number
class
of students and class teacher
yes number
class
of
attributes
yes, these are
and
class.
role name mark and number of student.
Oh yes, very good. So if you are defining inside the INIT with self, see I am not writing self over here. So these are your data attributes, whereas these two are class attributes. To access a class variable, what we are doing, we are writing the class name, the variable name, like student dot number of students will print that how many students are there. So even if you prefix a class variable with an object name, it will translate to class name. Even if you use a object name, but actually it is being converted to for the class, because for all objects the same variable is shared. A variable name used with object name is first searched in the object namespace. If it is not found, the object namespace, the Python will search for it in the class namespace. So in the namespace of object is, if it is not found, it is being searched in the class namespace, and it is found over there. So if you are accessing number of students, it may not be found in the space of object, but it is found in the class namespace. As we have data attributes and class attributes, similarly, we have also member functions, instant methods and static methods. The static functions that you have read in C++. These are the, here also you are saying that the static methods. Correct? So what are the, anyone who has remembered what is a static member function in C++? What is a static member function? What is a static member function? Anybody have remembered from C++? Hello? Not remembered. See, static member functions or static functions, member functions has two properties basically. One, static member functions can have access to other static members only. Static member functions can have access to other static members only. Second is that static member function can be invoked by using the class name instead of the object name. Static member function can be called by using the class name. So you may not use the object directly to the class, you can call it. These are the two properties, basic properties of the static methods. Here also we have some static methods are there, and these static methods are also called by the class name. And these methods do not have self as a parameter. As you know that for every member function, we pass self as a parameter. But here you do not have a self parameter. Correct? Because why it is there? Because it is not in the scope of that object. It is in the scope of the class. Is it understood? So how will you write it? How will you invoke it? It is the class name, method name. And you have no self parameter over here. There is no self parameter. I do not need to say about these member functions because these are the ordinary functions that are being defined inside the class. Those are member functions. Okay. So how will you know which one is the static method? It says that a line before the method definition must be @static method. This one you have to remember. The line before the method definition must be @static method. If you write this, is a decorator actually. Which is a decorator? A special message telling that this method is a static method, not an instance method. Correct? So just before the method, if you write @static method, then that method will become a static method. The property of the static method is static method can have access to other static members and they are called by using the class. Is it understood for this what is a static method is? How static method is different from the member function or member instance methods? Is it understood? Anyone having doubt on this slide? Anyone having doubt on this slide?
No, sir.
Okay. Look into this sample code. We have class account. Can you tell what kind of variable this is? What kind of attribute this is? What kind of attribute this one? Number of account?
Class attribute.
Class attribute. And this one?
Data attribute.
Data attribute. So we have class attribute and data attribute. And accounts info, what you are defining, this is simple define of function, but before that I am writing the static method. This is a decorator that I am using before this. So this will be treated as a static method. This will be treated as a static method. And now we can see we can access this static static data member or the class attribute, but we can call this class attribute by using this class name. I'm not writing an object name over here. The class name dot class attribute name. So I may call account dot accounts info. This is a static, but I can call it by using what? Class name. This is the class name, and I call it over here. Correct? So whenever I am calling this accounts info, I am calling through the class name. Is it understood? The static method is understood. Only two things you have to remember. One is that static methods have access to other static members of the class, and they can be accessed by using the class name. Acha, if it is a non-static method or instance method, what it can access? Whether it can access static and non-static or only static or only non-static. If it is a static method, it can access other static method or other static members only. But if it is a non-static or instance method, what it can access? Yes, if it is a non-static, it can access both static and non-static. Right? So what is the properties of these Python objects? Objects are mutable. Why say objects are mutable? Because the value of the data members that you are taking, those value can also be changed. Right? So objects are mutable, like you have different data structures you have which are mutable. Some of the data structures are mutable. Similarly, the Python objects are mutable. The value can change. And these objects are also dynamic. Dynamically means at the runtime we can also access, we can assign the value. While running the program, suppose for example, Z is a data member of PT1 object. So I can runtime also I can give PT1 of PT1.z equals to 5. So dynamically or runtime, a variable can be created and value can be assigned for the same. Correct? But it says that be careful when copying objects with the assignment operator. So it says that there are two different things may occur. For example, I have a class game. I create PT1 of PT1 is a instance of game class. Game is the class. So PT1 is an object of game class. Correct? By passing some parameter over here, maybe 100. So anyway, PT1 is an object of game. But the moment you write PT2 is equal to PT1, it is not actually another copy is being created for PT2. PT2 is just referring to PT1. Correct? So a object is created for PT1, memory is allocated for PT1, but the moment you are writing PT2 is equal to PT1, memory may not be allocated for PT2. What PT2 will be? PT2 is actually pointing to PT1 because both are pointing to the same location. So this can be understood over here. So the case that I have explained over there, that means it is actually a shallow copy. We said it is a shallow copy. So both the location are pointing to that 100 actually, PT1 and PT2 to the same location. So if I compare in that case, it returns true. Both PT1 and PT2 is pointing to the same location. The deep copy says PT1 and PT2 are two different objects and they two are assigned with two different addresses. Then they may give you the false. That may give you the false. If they are being assigned with two different objects and they do have maybe have 100 value over there, then it is different, it returns false. So this is called the deep copy actually, and this is called the shallow copy. So if it is pointing only, it is shallow. If separate values are being stored, then it is deep copy. Right? So while copying the object, do remember that you are actually assigning another pointer to it. So even if I delete PT1, the PT2 will still exist. I'll give one example for the same one. So even if I delete PT1, the PT2 is still pointing to that location. There are some built-in class attributes are there. This can be used to print for different what informations we can get by using this built-in class attributes. For example, if I want to print the name of the class, I will use the underscore name underscore. This attribute I can use with the class, so it will return the class. If I give underscore basis underscore, it will return what the classes for which the class inherit. So the base class, the inheritance, entire inheritance, it will show you if it is doc, the class documentation string. Which are documented string? Which are documented string over here? What this should return? Document string already I have told you earlier. In triple quote, you have written something after the class. Those are document strings. In triple quote, if you have written something, those are, let me show you. Oh, here you have not written. Just see over here. I have written something over here. Maybe this may be written in triple quotes. It will better, it will be written in triple quotes. So that what will happen? This will be treated as, this will be get printed when you print this, when you use this document string. the class documentation string would be printed. And similarly for the modules, the name of the module in which this class was defined. You may define a class inside a module. So if you want to know that in which module it is defined, you can use the underscore module underscore. So that can also be used. Right? So one more underscore. I hope it is understood. These things are for information. So you can use any one of them to get some information about the class. Okay. As I told you earlier that there is no destructor is there in the class. You have constructor is there. INIT will work as a constructor, but there is no real destructor. So I said that if you want to print the class to which this object belongs to, if you want to know the class to which it is belongs to, then you may go for object name dot underscore class, then name. So it will return, this will give you the class, right? So you have created an object of the student class and you want to know that for which class it is actually, at the runtime you want to know. So that you can get it from here. Okay. Okay, I said that there is no real destructor. There is no destructor function over here. But we have a del method. But we have a del method underscore del. This is a del method. This is called when the instance is about to be destroyed. When the instance is about to be destroyed, this is being called. This is automatically being inverted. Garbage collector decide there is no more reference to an object. This is automatically being called. Memory cleaning will occur over there. Correct? And there is a garbage collector that allocates memory for new object, identify garbage objects, and reclaim the memory. The functions of the garbage collector is to allocate memory for new object. Whenever an object is created, it will allocate memory for the same. Identify the garbage object. If it is not required, not pointing by any of the object memory location, then it will be treated as a garbage object. And it will reclaim the memory. How it will reclaim? By free that memory. So you really do not require to monitor whether the memory is allocated or deallocated or it is need to be freed or not. Those are not required. That you do in C++ by using new operator, delete operator. You may have a destructor inside which you may write delete operator. Those are not required over here. This is automatically being taken care. Right? For example, if I write x1 equals to greetings, in the bracket I write xyz. So what is the class and what is the object over here? X1 equals to greetings of xyz. So this is what? This is the class name. What is x1? X1 is the object. So x1 object is created for this greetings class by passing xyz as argument. Correct? So x1 is the object. Now the moment I write x2 is equal to x1, what does it mean? X2 is another pointer to x1. That means it is just a reference to x1. No extra memory is allocated. So no constructor or destructor will invoke. I hope it is understood. For the first case, the constructor is invoked. For x1, the constructor is invoked. But the moment you are writing x2 equals to x1, no constructor or destructor will invoke because x1 is already created for which the constructor has invoked. X2 is just pointing to that location. X2 is just pointing to that location. So I may access any of the variable by using x2 dot say hello or something, these methods which are being defined inside the greetings class. Is it understood? Is everything understood from this slide?
Sir,
Yes.
in the first point of GC, that how
Hello. Allocate memory for new objects. That means whenever we are creating an object, the memory must be allocated for that object. What we do in other languages like in Java or C++, for we may invoke a we may use a new operator for dynamic memory allocation, or we may use in Java also we may use that new, or even if you do not use the new operator for a new object, memory is allocated for the variables. So here you do not have to explicitly use this new operator. So for memory allocation, identifying the which has not been used and deallocating for reclaiming the memory, all are being done by this garbage collector. Right? So garbage collector is responsible for any memory that is being allocated for the object, or to reclaim those memories once it is being deleted or is no longer required. Is that understood?
yes, sir.
Okay. So now see here, I have x1 and x2 are two objects, and I said what? X1, x2 equals to x1, so x2 is a pointer to x1. X2 is a pointer to x1. Now, if I delete x1, still x2 is pointing, right? So look over here. I write delete x1. Even if I delete x1, the destructor, no destructor will be invoked. Actually, destructor doesn't mean that del function. The del function will not be invoked. But the moment you write delete x2, what will happen? This means that none of the pointer is pointing to x2 or to that memory location, right? See, what we have done, for del x1, when you write del x1, so what will happen? X1 and x2 was pointing, x1 and x2 both are pointing to this object what is being created for greeting class object. Now the moment you write delete x1, you have written, so what it will call this delete function. Sorry, it will not call the delete function, because still the x2 is pointing to that location. Still x2 is pointing. But the moment you write delete x2, what will happen? No pointer is pointing to those memory locations. So that must be deleted. So automatically the del will be a destructor is involved. We say destructor because there is a del function only. There is no destructor over there. Correct? So when there is no memory reference to a particular memory area, then automatically for that object the del can be called. The str method, another method is called the str method. Underscore str underscore. This is str method invoked when you try to print the object of the class using the print statement. So if I want to print the object name, when you write print object name, automatically the built-in str function is applied to the object of that class. Is it understood what I am saying? What is pt1? pt1 is the object. So this pt1 is the object actually. So can you write print? If I write print pt1, what it should print? What it should print if I give print pt1? Can you write like this in C++? can you write like this? Print PT1 like this. Here what it says, in C++, when you write the object name, you must have to specify object dot variable name or object dot the object dot method name. But here I am writing only object, print object. So it says that whenever you write print object, what it will do? It will automatically call this str function. This will automatically call this str method. Correct? So this will print what are the objects, what are the data members, class variable, and your member functions that are present in your class, and types, everything that it will print. Besides that, also the built-in str function, you have a built-in str function is applied to the object of that class. So if you want to explicitly call this str, you can call it by str of pt1. So when you write print pt1, automatically str is called, or you may call it explicitly by str of, in the bracket, object. Correct? And that will print, that will give you the list of all the data members, all the member functions that you have defined inside the class. This is str. Where is any doubt from this slide?
In both the case, it will give the data members and member
Yes.
functions that are defined in the class.
Yes, both output is same. The first one says that when you write pt or pt1 or object name, it is in automatically called the str. Second one says I am calling the str function by passing the object as argument. So both will give the same output. First one is first one says that even if you have not mentioned, automatically it will call the str.
Sir, we have to use underscore before and after str, or directly use str function? Because sir, to convert to one str data type, we are also using str function.
Which one? I could not.
Hello.
Hello.
Sir, in the second example,
Huh.
we have just wrote str and inside the function we pass the object of that class, particular class. So sir, I just want to know that if we have to use the underscore before and after str or not.
No, it is not required in 2.72. I have applied because when you are passing the object, it automatically understood that is for the this str underscore this one.
But sir, str is another function.
I know it is there.
From...
It is all there, but str function that you have learned, that is actually for data types like integer to string or to any other data types to string data type. The same str is there, but there we do not pass the object. If you pass the object, and then it does the same thing. Actually, in 2.7.2 I have tried. It was working fine. Maybe in 3.0 I have not tried. You can do it. You can type it on a machine. You can see. You can check it over there. But I believe that it should take with str, because with str you may pass suppose integer. It automatically convert to string. But here you are passing your object. When an object is passed, actually it is being treated as differently, and it will call the str method itself. It's like no overloading of things.
Yes, sir. But sir, everything in the Python is a class type, means object. That means is a data type all considered as a separate class. So if we are trying to convert any data type which involve the
Yes,
oops concept, then
you can convert the data type. There is no problem. But pt1 is itself a data type of a class, right? So str function is converting to string. Can you convert an object to a string? Is it possible to convert an object to a string? That cannot be.
no, sir.
So if you, for that actually,
Yes, sir.
is it understood? So you cannot convert an object to a string. So in that case, what you will do? So automatically, the Python will understand that this is an object, and therefore it will call the corresponding str method for the same. Okay, we'll talk about the private data member, private data, and the methods. So actually, I have told you that till now what you have discussed, there the data members or methods are public. That means they can be accessed by using the object name directly. But I want to make some of the data member or method to be what? To be private. That you do usually in C++. In C++, the data is more secure. We define most of the data is in private section. And in fact, by default it is private, right? In by default it is private. But in Python, it is not by default private. Actually, it has given flexibility to the user. So by default, it has kept it public. But if you want to make it private, you have to define it in separately, right? So any attribute or method with two leading underscore with its name is private, and it cannot be accessed outside of the class. The private data members already know, private data members or methods, they cannot be accessed outside of the class, even if by using its own objects, even if by using its own object. So names with two underscores at the beginning and the end are for built-in methods or attributes for the class. So before the variable name, if I give two underscores, right, that becomes a private data or private method. So before variable name, if I give two underscore, that becomes private variable. Before the method, if I give two underscore, that becomes a that becomes what? Private method. So names with two underscores at the beginning at the end are for built-in methods or attributes for that class, right? So but now you do not ask about the protected, that is there in C++, private, public, and protected. But here there is no protected status in Python, right? So subclasses would be unable to access those private data. So once you declare a private, they cannot be accessed in the by the subclasses. But in C++, if some of the private members you want to inherit to the subclass, what you do? You put it in the protected actually. Protected is same as private, but that can be inherited. That is the there in C++ or not?
Yes, sir.
But here it says protected is not there. So that means if you declare private, that cannot be inherited to the subclass. Right? So how to make a data member or method as private? Two underscore at the beginning and end of the. So look over here. Just look over here for private attributes. Self dot underscore underscore z equals to 0. If I write self dot z, that means z is a what? Z is a public data member. But if I write self dot underscore underscore z, then it is not public. It is a private attribute. So self dot z and self dot underscore underscore z are two different scopes. Self dot z means z is a data member, but it's public. Self dot underscore underscore z is a data member, but it is private. So once it is private, that cannot be accessed by cannot be accessed outside of the class, not even through its own object. Similarly, if you want to make some methods as private, give 2 underscore symbols at the beginning of the method. Def underscore print details. Suppose this is the method. So once I try to do it by object.print details, this will give you, this will give what this will give? Can you tell me? If
Say
I
error.
this will give error. This will give error. This will give error. Why it is there? Because this is a private and we cannot access the private. Now, what is the use of private methods then? What is the use of private methods? If it is not, it cannot be called by the object name, then why you will have a private method?
So it may be used to access the private data members.
But even if it access, but we cannot call. Na? Suppose private method calls private attributes, that is okay. But we cannot call the private methods at all. Then what is the use of these private methods? Anyone who can say? What is the use of private methods? See, even if we cannot call the private method, can you call a public method or not? We can call a public method. The public method can call a private method or not inside the class.
Yes, sir.
So I will call a public method, the public method will call the private method, and the private method may call the other attributes. So we can have access to those variables again. Understood? So we may have private methods. We'll call a public method. The public method may call the private method itself. Right? So there are some methods that are being used for the attributes, or the data members. What is that? Suppose has attribute student one age. That means whether age is a data member in student one object or not. Are you getting me? Whether age is a what? Age is an attribute in student object or not. This is the object. This is the object and this is the attribute. And this is the attribute. Right? So this returns what? If age is present inside this object, it returns true. If it is not present, it will return false. Similarly, this is has attribute. Get attribute is if age is present in the student one, it returns the value of age. It returns the value of age. That is the get attribute. Has attribute, what it does? It checks whether it is an attribute or not. But what get attribute method will do? This will return the value. This will return the value of that attribute. The value of this attribute will be returned. This returns the value of the attribute. Right? Similarly, set attribute. So I want to set the age to the value 18. So I can call a set attribute function by passing the object. So this is same as student.age equals to 18. The meaning is same. Student1.age equals to 18 is same as the previous one. Is that clear? If student is the object, age is the attribute one data member, I can write student1 dot age equals to 18, or here I can write student1 age 18. So this value, this is the value, and this is the attribute, right? And this is the object. This is the object. I can delete an attribute from a class by using the delete attribute, del attribute from object name, um, and the attribute. Is that understood? For this slide, all the things are understood? Or anyone having doubt? We'll lead operator overloading next class because it will not finish. Operator overloading we'll read in the